Let's get to Bill George now, of course, who joins us frequently as well, sometimes with guests, sometimes on his own, the former Medtronic CEO, a board member of a number of important companies. Bill, good to see you. There's so much news to digest. Let's start off with your take on the plan that was unveiled from the administration for trying to get the economies opened up in various states, the phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. What are your thoughts? Do you think it will work?
Well, I think they've put in very clear criteria of what needs to be done, and the states are clearly taking charge. We just had 7 Midwest governors announce their criteria. But what I would tell you, David, is until we get more testing and more PPE out there, it's going to be very slow. I've talked to about 15 CEOs in recent days of very large companies, and their number one concern, without exception, is employee safety and the safety of their customers, so particularly those on customer-facing industries. And they're not going to be fully back in business until they can ensure that, and that means testing of their employees are coming to work, and it means contact tracing. So we need to move very aggressively on this and get contact tracing, get healthcare workers out there, public health workers, to do that. And so I'm concerned we're moving too slowly. But it is, I think that's a start. But those criteria are going to take a while. It's not going to be anything close to reopening the economy. You can't just push a button and open this complex an economy.
No, it's not like turning the lights just back on, many people say. And Bill, your focus on testing, you've been talking to a lot of CEOs. We heard just for Meg's report from any number of CEOs who've joined us in the last day or two as well. It does seem to be about having those tests available, ubiquitous in a sense. I can't even imagine what it's going to cost in terms of just testing people constantly.
Yeah.
But do you have any sense as to when we're going to get there, when we're really going to be at that position where business can rely on the tests being available that they need?
Well, first of all, I think right now we're not able to test the people that are quite sick. A lot of them are not getting tests. And so we're not talking about employees that are otherwise healthy, we think, and learning more. We've got so much more to learn. We'll have serology tests out there that can tell us much more about the existence of antibodies. But these are going to take time to ramp up. So that's going to be well into the late summer, early fall before we get really ramped up on these tests. But I think even then, David, you're not going to just turn the economy back on because consumers are going to be concerned until you get a vaccine so they feel protected. They're not going to go into shopping malls. They're not going to go to sporting events. They're not going to get in airplanes that are crowded with 3 people in their row. So I think you're going to see real caution until we get, first of all, we get the testing, and then we get a vaccine. And I think we're still 10 to 12 months away from a vaccine that's in wide use because you can't put a vaccine out there for 100 million people unless you're very sure that it works. It has to be fully tested. So these green shoots from Remdesivir are encouraging, but, and the work that that various companies are doing, Gilead, Sanofi, Johnson & Johnson, but it's going to be a while. So for now, I think we're going to go into what the Wall Street Journal called a partial, fitful, and slow recovery. And so the economy will be operating at, far less than capacity. And I think we haven't even begun to think, David, about what's the impact on consumers that don't have any money to spend. They're trying to put bread on the table. They're not going to be looking for expensive homes and brand new cars. So I think those high ticket items will take at least a year and maybe longer before we recover. And if the unemployment rate goes, as Steve Mnuchin said, to 20%, you're going to have a lot of hardship and a lot of fear out there that I'm going to be the next. Even though I didn't get laid off, maybe it's coming. And you see these huge layoffs. So I think these things are colliding right now, the disease and the economy, and it's no quick fix that I can see.
But Bill, I mean, there's one thing you didn't mention in between the testing and the vaccine, and that is a potential treatment, which is why I think the news on Gilead is so encouraging. And I wonder if it's being underestimated, just how many companies, small and large, are working on treatments. They're repurposing drugs. I mean, even Remdesivir was a failed Ebola drug, but for cancer, for arthritis, for the plasma antibodies, there's so many different treatments out there getting tested and going through clinical trials. I wonder if that's the key to unlocking consumer confidence. If there's something that can be out there where people realize they won't have to go into ICUs or hopefully not even to hospitals, that could bridge us until we get that vaccine. What's your level of optimism there?
I think you're dealing with treatment for people that are very sick. All these tests so far are dealing with people that are very sick. And so I don't think that per se is going to build consumer confidence. It may reduce significantly the death rate, which would be a wonderful thing if we can do that. And you heard the head of Mayo last week talking about the antibody treatment, that their therapy they're working on. And so I think these things could come by the fall. But remember, we have to have people feeling confident to get. You're going to go to a football game with 50,000 people or 60,000 people crowded next to each other. We're going to have to change and reconfigure the workplace. We're going to have to reconfigure the restaurants so that maybe only half a capacity. So I don't think you're seeing people going to go jump back in. All the business I know are thinking about the new normal, as we call it. It's not going to look anything like it did last fall. It will be totally different in 2021. And I think we're looking at a permanent, Sarah, new normal. And I don't see it's just we're going to find Remdesivir works as a treatment. Everyone's going to rush back and go into the malls and everything. So I think you're going to see the economy looking very, very different. It won't look anything like it has. We're going to do much more online. We're going to work from home. We're going to do things like that, which will change the game dramatically for people. And I think, can restaurants make money? Can they break even at half capacity if they have to separate people? So I think it'll be a while before we see that booming economy we had last fall.